Alright, I just won an Oshkosh LVSR 10x10 from the government auction. So now I'm going to try to go pick it up with my 7-ton Oshkosh MTVR and flat tow it back home. Which this is actually plan B. I already implemented plan A and drove my cab over with my step deck trailer all the way down to the pickup location. And then I had to go home empty-handed, so I'll tell you why later. But now we need to get my 7-ton ready to do the job. It's always been a powerful, dependable truck for me, so hopefully it has what it takes. The only issue with it is it has no roof or doors or windshield. However, I do have this extra cab right here, and it has the windshield and roof framework, and it's just like hinged on and clipped in because these are designed to be able to collapse down really quickly. So I should be able to really easily move these parts over to my running truck, and then we'll at least have a framework to put a plastic windshield in. I'll cover this turret hole up top, and then I'll try to just whip together some plywood doors for this thing as well, so we can try to get this cab sealed up and pleasant to drive down the road. And then also to flat tow this truck, I need a tow bar, but I don't have one, so I'm going to make my own, just because I don't really like the ones that the military runs anyways. They're very rickety and have a lot of points of adjustment, but I'm just going to make a nice solid one that'll be custom made for my future vehicles. But I only have a day to get ready for this trip, so let's tear this cab down and start throwing things together. It's looking like this cab is mainly just attached with a few of these mechanisms, which has this arm that hooks into this pin, which we're able to just turn this like that and loosen this up with this Allen key. Now, alrighty, these are getting going. There's also these hooks up here. So let's get those unhooked. All right, now I need to work on just undoing these hinge pins. However, the weird thing about them is that they're actually completely just plastic. So plastic's an interesting choice. I guess there's some nice benefits where the hinge will never like corrode and seize together, just because this plastic will never corrode and it'll always stay kind of slippery in there. However, I've already messed with this one and there's no way to push these plastic pins out. So I'm having to resort to just ramming a wedge into here and just shearing off the pins, and that seems to be working. I think I'll be able to get these side panels coming out of here right now, just like that. Let's see if I can lift this whole assembly. The rest of these panels are hinged together, so this kind of just goes all in one go. But it is all aluminum. Something seemed to kind of be binding up here. Kind of got it. All right, we're gonna see if with Ron's help we can just get this up here by hand. That's as tall as I am. Oh gosh. I need more ice from you.
Here.
I don't have it.
Just slide it like that, you know?
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I feel like my percentage of weight is increasing. Oops. Alright, if you can like stabilize, maybe I can climb this with one of my...
Okay.
Stuck on. Wait.
Yes. For the record, the excavator's on the other side of the property. But maybe it would have been worth grabbing it.
Your head rests over there.
Oh, that was so much harder than I was thinking. This piece is in our way. Side piece in.
Looks like you got it.
All right, we're almost there. I'll see if these cam lock things here will reach down and grab this like we need. Ooh. Okay. Nice. These cam locks work really good because they rotate and hook and then cinch tight. Just need a little help getting started. Can you put any more weight on this somehow? Try and get this slotted in the hook better.
You want to jump?
Jump! Oh, nice. That's exactly what it needed. Nice. And this last one over here.
Oh, you don't throw it on?
No, don't say that. All right, we got it all. Whole back's done. These hooks here are hooked in. Hinges have a bolt through them. This cab is on, situated good. All the gaskets seated pretty good. So now let's start fixing the windshield hole, the door hole. Oh my gosh. So let's start working on getting a windshield, doors, and seal off this roof. Alright, I am going to have to leave in the middle of the night for this trip so I can arrive early enough to the pickup location. Although summer has been winding down and it's starting to get kind of cool at night, and because the heater doesn't work on this truck and my simple modifications to the cab are still probably going to leak a lot of wind, I'm going to need some extra help staying warm on the drive down. But thankfully, I have the continued support of Huckberry, who is the sponsor of today's video, and they've sent me everything I need to enjoy this fall in style and take on the cooler temperatures. Starting with pants, Huckberry has their HB Fit system to help you find the exact pants you're looking for within their 4 categories of HB Slim, Athletic Tapered, Straight, and Classic. So you're left with no tailor, no guesswork, just great pants. Here I've got some HB Straight pants made by Proof, and then here's some HB Classic pants made by Flint & Tender. Here's a flannel lined trucker jacket. And if denim's your thing, Huckberry has all the denim jeans and jackets you could ask for to get ready for fall. I also had to try out the brand new release of these classic chore coats by Flint & Tender. They're handy with some extra pockets, and they're super comfortable and flexible. Now this Mason jacket has some real warmth to it, so this will probably be what I wear on my long cold trip down in this truck. Now Huckberry has already proved themselves to me with their high quality summer attire that helped me get on some awesome backwater redfish down in Florida with my dad. Nice. So now I'm really excited to put the rest of my Huckberry gear to work the rest of this year. And if you're looking to take on the oncoming cooler temperatures with style, then check out the link in my description below to see what Huckberry has to offer. And thank you, Huckberry, for sponsoring today's video. Alright, the air filter for this engine goes in this big canister, except it was just a paper filter that ended up rotting away and disintegrating to where the original one had a bunch of just holes straight through it. So it was no good anymore. And also, filters for these MTVRs are super expensive, so I'm just going to bypass this system. It was pretty overkill anyways. It's built to really handle some dusty desert environments, but with what I need this truck for, it doesn't need to have that much capacity for dealing with dirty air. So here's that air filter, and as you can see, holes right through it. I used to route through here, but then added a different fitting in there and took this piping out to here so it can run up the back of the cab for a little snorkel action there. And then I'm just going to run this cheap filter here. It's pretty small for this application, but as long as we don't clog it up with dust, the engine will breathe fine with it. It means that I'm never going to end up putting that many miles on this truck. We'll just get away with this little filter for now. Oh, I also cut these little slots in the back of this cab so that I can run this hose clamp through, so then this can pick up here and I'll be more secure back here. So let's get this installed the rest of the way so we can have an air filter back on this truck. And then I should eventually build a little roof to keep rain out, but I don't think we'll get rain on tomorrow's trip, so we'll just run it like that for now because I don't have time. All right, let's work on cutting this metal out for our tow bar. Alright, I cut out this 3/8 thick plate out of a chunk of frame I had laying around. And then I tacked it to the rest of my frame here so I can have extra metal for my mag drill to magnetize to. Because then I'm going to drill these holes in here, and that's going to be what my pintle hitch actually bolts to. And then this plate will be welded to the rest of the tube structure for the tow bar. Alright, this tow bar is taking shape. Everything is tacked together. So now I'm going to get busy and weld it solid. And then this thing is going to be insanely rigid and way stronger than any tow bars that the military normally runs. While I'm welding this out, I'll tell you the story of why Plan A didn't work, with me not being able to pick up the new truck with my semi-truck and trailer. So once the new truck was available for pickup, I called GovPlanet and explained the trailer I had in detail, with it being a step deck trailer with heavy-duty ramps, and I asked if they were willing to push my non-running 10x10 up onto my trailer with their loader. And I had the manager and one of the loader operators on the phone at the time, and they confirmed that they were willing to load the truck onto the trailer for me. So I made the 8-hour drive down, but once I got there, the lead operator in charge said that they are not interested in loading my type of trailer, and that they will only load lowboy trailers. So it was the end of the day, and after the head guy refused to load my trailer, GovPlanet was about to close anyways, so I wasn't even able to explore the option of having a third-party wrecker company come and help load my trailer. Although I wanted to avoid that option anyways, since that would be an expensive wrecker bill anyways. So I was just left to drive the 8 hours back home empty and lose that time and fuel money and figure out a different plan. So that's why we're having a go at flat towing the new truck behind my 7-ton. Alright, time to bolt this ring to the rest of the tow bar. It has these relief cutouts, although my bolts are bigger than those reliefs, so they don't sit down all the way. But I did happen to have these washers laying around, so instead of cutting down those bolts, that washer fits in there perfectly. A double stack of that will work fine. And on the back side, I had to notch a flat edge on these nuts so it clears the weld. And then this should all cinch together really nice. Now I'm working on cutting out all the plywood and plastic pieces that'll be used to seal up this cab. The plastic doesn't look very clear at the moment, but that's just because it has a protective film on it. And once that peels off, the plastic is perfectly clear and should provide us with some nice makeshift windows and windshield. I did even take a router to the edges of the wood and also sanded it and applied polyurethane to the wood to seal out the moisture and hopefully keep this wood lasting longer than just this one trip. Alright, because I'm crunched on time, I went ahead and put the camera down and just knocked out all the work to this cab. So now I'm just going to catch you guys up and let you know what I did. Here, plywood door, spray painted, hinges open this way, and then there's this bungee cord that hooks in there that holds it shut. As this relief right here, because if this radius was attached, because this plane is offset to this point, this corner would interfere right here if it was still there. So that's why that's notched out like that. Also, windshield is in. That's all siliconed in. And then I had to get a 4x8 sheet of plastic for that anyways, so I ended up having a bunch of scrap, but I went ahead and just made this entire door clear. And having this whole door clear will be helpful because this truck is very tall and cars can hide down here in my blind spot. So I'll be able to see them better out this whole clear area here, because I didn't have time to add mirrors to this truck either. Also, for the window on the driver's side, I cut out the piece of plastic to fit in there, but I didn't have time to make a whole hinge mechanism to actually mount it. Because I don't have mirrors here either, I want to be able to stick my head out the window anyways to look, so I don't mind that just staying open for now for this trip. Then for the turret hole that was in this roof, I had this round piece of steel laying around, so I just really quickly screwed it around. So that at least gets that hole covered. And then right over here is this trailer light wiring harness with this antenna mounted on the roof, so we can get a good signal back, sending to the wireless tail lights that are magnetized, that'll stick on the back of the truck in tow. And then that wiring comes up to here, because the light wiring on this truck is not really working properly right now. Some of the functions aren't working. This turn signal lever doesn't really seem to work. And also, this truck runs on 24 volts, which I think all the lights do as well. So I think that would, if I was tapping into that signal, would maybe fry that antenna up there. So how I routed this instead, because there is this phone charger here that spits out 12 volts, So I tied into that. So that gives us running lights when that's plugged in. And then I even actually wired in this extra brake. It even says engine brake, also just like that one. Except this one ends up sending a brake signal to these lights. So we won't have turn signals, but we will have running lights and brake lights. And then I can be in here clicking manually as some hazards. So that'll be good enough for this trip. So I have worked on this all day, getting this truck ready for the road. And now it's 3 a.m. and Gov Planet closes tomorrow. Well, today now, Friday. And on Fridays, Gov Planet is only open till noon. So we have an 8-hour drive. Going to leave right now, 3 a.m. Hopefully get there at 11 a.m., which gives us 1 hour to spare to sort out getting this truck ready for the road and off the Gov Planet property. So that's going to require us having a smooth trip down. So let's leave right now and hope we can just book it right there. All right, I just made it to Gov Planet in the nick of time. We got to get hitched up to this truck as quickly as possible. And as soon as we're hitched up, I'll go ahead and drag this truck off the auction property so we can work on it more outside of the gate. All right, here's my girl. The loader already did me a huge favor and moved the cab onto the bed of this truck. So I'm thinking that the more weight we can get off the front of that one and on the rear of this one, the better this thing will tow and the better this will handle back here. Because I'm worried about this bigger truck, the tail wagging the dog of my smaller truck. And there she blows. Big old beautiful cat. All right, now we need to work on getting the tow bar chained up to the front of the LVSR. This thing is so heavy. There we go. You guys catching the vision now? Those two big eyelets made it perfect to double wrap this heavy duty chain around this bar and just perfectly slots around these angle parts, and now I'll have a binder tying these two sides together so everything will stay really tight. Yeah, that's getting there. Just filling up this one low tire right now, and then I think we're ready to tug this thing out of this yard. They close in 5 minutes, so we're getting out just in the nick of time. Tracking perfect. All right, apparently this transfer case is in neutral right now, although I don't want to risk backfeeding rotation into the transmission as we're going down the road, so we'll pull drive lines just to be safe. Hey, that one easy. Nice. I do need to drive the truck forward a few inches. Try to rotate this collar 180 degrees, so I'm gonna go give it a bump and see if I estimate correctly. Ah, not enough. That'll work. I'll tie it over there. These are tighter. Oh, and the tires are airing up right now. Going through and adding air to all the tires. So that's why the truck's idling in the background. But it makes for a good time to tackle this task. And I do always appreciate how these trucks have this wire coming across to keep both bearing caps held in place, because normally with every other drive line you pull this out and these caps go flying off and dirt gets everywhere in there. All right, the last major thing that I want to check before we hit the road is that these hubs are full of oil, because they really need oil, because there's actually planetary gears rotating inside of here. And having planetary axles adds some nice benefits, because you can get away with a lower profile differential, because you don't need a giant ring gear to get your gear ratio down. So that makes for smaller differential and more ground clearance. And also, having this torque multiplication right at the very end of the drivetrain to drive this tire makes everything inboard of this, all the drive shafts and everything, under less stress. So what's going on is the CV axle driving this tire is spinning faster than the tire actually is, because that CV axle feeds this planetary gear set that lowers the gear ratio. So even though that CV axle has to spin faster, it's under less strain. So that keeps things from snapping. So let's just pop this little cap off and see if there's oil in there. I don't know if you can see or not, but yep, has full clean oil right up to the fill level. So that hub's good to go. Let's check this next one. This one has some leakage, it looks like, so none of the others are like this. Even this was completely loose, but there's still clean oil, completely full, so maybe this just needs to be slightly tightened and it'll stop leaking. All right, and at that point, I think we have addressed everything to where we can try to go home. I even added a minor attempt at a safety chain, but hey, at least I taped up the chain hooks there, so that won't go anywhere. But also, it's a pretty small chain. However, I have a lot of confidence in this tow bar, so I think we're good. I'll just clean up the rest of my tools, and let's hit the road. Got 1 mile. I'm at the first stoplight here, and this feels awful, actually. The 10x10 is like twice the weight as the 6x6 is towing it, and it's really wanting to call the shots back there. Like literally I'm drifting around corners, like it pushes the back end of the 6x6 around corners, and I have to like counter steer, and then it figures itself out. And on the straightaways it's pretty good, unless if it feels like doing this worm thing, and then hold on for dear life. I might have to try to modify some things, make this feel a little more secure. All right, not too far further, I had to pull off the side of the road. I've got it nice and straight right now, and I think because the 10x10 has rear steer, it's also trying to track and do its own thing. I think that's really throwing us off. So I'm going to try to lock out rear steer on the 10x10 so that only the front 2 axles steer. And so that the rear 2 axles, instead of doing their little pivot, they'll stay straight. I'm going to see if that helps things. So I'm going to have to tear apart some steering linkage and lock it in place. So let's work on doing that here on the shoulder of this road. And chop this junk. This whole steering shaft runs along the truck. But now if I lock this arm perpendicular like this, then it should lock out rear steer. All right, here's our little stub steering shaft coming out perpendicularly now. So that U-joint in there is locked out, and this strap is pulling up on it, and that has it wedged against the frame, so I should hold this up and down. I tied all the excess strap to hold it in place there. So let's do another test drive and get a little bit closer to home and see if that helped or hurt stuff. Oh, you guys, that made a huge difference. This thing tows like a dream now. If any of you ever try to pull one of these 10x10s with a tow bar, you gotta lock out rear steer. Before I felt like I was gonna die at any moment, and now it feels like I pulled the whole world behind me. Now everything just tracks nice and straight and true, and the back end doesn't get yanked around anymore. So my poor little Cat C12 under this hood is screaming. I don't think it has enough power for the last gear, so let's take her nice and easy home and keep the temperatures cool. But I think we'll get home eventually at this rate. Did get my lights charged up, because I did stay at a hotel last night actually. Because at the end of driving yesterday, I was awake for like 36 hours straight, getting ready for this trip. So I was tired, figured I'd get some good sleep and then finish the rest of the trip today. Which this morning, we're starting off with some rain, a little drizzly, which is unfortunate for these tires. I wish they could get as much traction as possible, but we'll take it easy. One other modification I did to this tow bar that helped a ton is these two yellow binders pulling sideways and holding this from shifting side to side. Because when it was just cradled by these big chains, it still allowed for a little bit of side-to-side slop sometimes, to where like it would hold tight, but then randomly it would shift, which would cause this whole truck to kind of jerk one side or the other. Nothing major, but still not pleasant when you're going down the road and the whole rig shakes. But now that I added these, that problem went away. And so this thing's towing beautifully. I think we'll have hopefully a smooth trip ahead of us. No tire issues yet. All the tires look great. And we should just have about 7 hours of drive time, so let's knock that out. Also, no windshield wipers, but those are overrated anyways. Let's see if this thing will fire up this morning. Always a relief.